Hey guys, welcome. All right, when we met last time, you were talking about the Articles of Confederation. We read a little bit about it. I hope that you took notes with the other video and you have this hand here. There were a couple little things that I added. It said no money. I said they could not tax boundary land disputes and quarreling states. So I'm going to take this a step deeper today with you. I wanted to look at, on our Padlet, this image here. And you can see the powers that they did have under the Articles of Confederation and the powers that they did not have. So if you're with your teacher or your classmates and would like to pause this, I want you to look at some problems that arise. If you think about number one, they could declare war and make peace. But look at the list of weaknesses. There is a definite problem on the list that kind of cancels that power out. Anybody see number 5? There was no national army or navy. So we can declare war with what? We have no army or navy. Yay, government. Not. All right, number 2, to coin and borrow money. To coin means to make money. They can make money. That means they can make the paper money. Just like this. Here I go. I'm going to make paper money. All right. Oh, look. Oh, I have paper money. Oh, this is worth at least $1 million. Oh, this is worth, oh yeah, there's another $1 million. Okay. And oh, this one's worth another $1 million. Okay. All right. What's some problems that you see with that? Well, number 2, they didn't have the power to tax, which means they're not getting any real gold or anything. So this is just paper. It's not worth anything. Also, each state could still make its own money. So here we are. Let's pretend we're in New York, the colony of New York. And we have our own paper money. Let me pull up the label here. Okay, here's what our money looks like. Our money is the blue money. This is New York dollar bills. Oh, hello, I can't spell. New York money, right? Okay, but in Pennsylvania, they have this money, okay? It's the Pennsylvania money. Well, while you're in New York, you can spend this money. But if you take your New York money and you want to go travel to Pennsylvania, say they got a really cool cart and donkey wagon that you're just like, I need that on my farm. I'm going to go from New York over to Pennsylvania. They won't take your money. It's not the same. Just like we have dollar bills here in America that have George Washington on them, that is not what they use in other countries. When you go to other countries, you have to exchange. You have to say, okay, I've got this much of this. And they're like, oh, well, that's worth 2 of these. So you can have 2 of these. So each state can make its own money. So if you look back at it, well, number 2 says, yay, they can make their own money. But each state can also make its own money. And if you go from state to state, you have to have a different kind of money. That's not going to work, guys. Alrighty, so number 3, you can deal with the foreign countries. So sure, government, deal with the foreign countries and sign all those peace treaties for us. But look at number 8. Each state could put tariffs on trade between the states. So say we agree with France, you can bring in your goods and we will buy them. Well, if I'm on the coast of Virginia and I take those goods from France, if I cross state lines, there can be another tax on them there. And then another tax on them and another tax on them from state to state. Each state can tax. If you want to walk in from Georgia to South Carolina, you can have a tariff put on all the goods that you bring across. So each state is just making up its own stuff. So it doesn't really matter if we can agree with foreign countries because each state is going to do whatever it wants with the foreign country when they get there. All right, number 4. Well, guess what? you can mail your letters. We're going to have some post offices. And that's it. That's about all the new government can do. Number four, really, they can operate post offices because everything else isn't working. The problem is the national government couldn't enforce the laws. They had given the states freedom to pretty much do what they wanted to do. They didn't have the power to tax, which you have to raise taxes in order to build roads, in order to raise an army, in order to do anything. You got to have the money to do it. And they can't make the states pay for it. So the states are a part of the government. So it's just a big mess. Okay. When you've got states back and forth, they're fighting over, no, this belongs to North Carolina. No, this belongs to South Carolina. Oh, I'm not buying your carrots because if you bring them over into my state, that's going to cost more taxes. And no, I'm not accepting your pink money. We're using the blue money. So the states are quarreling, they're bickering, and there's nobody there to fix it. It's kind of like if Miss Phillips and I got in trouble fighting over art class. You know Miss Goodwin's going to come down and she's going to fix it because she's in charge, right? Well, there's nobody in charge. There's nobody with any power. So the states are just bickering and quarreling, and it's a mess. There's no way to fix it. Also, there are no courts. So if you got in a land dispute with a neighbor, you can't take them to court and have them decide where the line is because there are no courts. There were just so many weaknesses. It was a hot mess after the war, which brings us to Shays' Rebellion. And if you will look in your workbook, we are going to cut out page 56. So go ahead and flip to the next page, and we're going to put Shays' Rebellion at the top. That's the next big event. It was named after Daniel Shays, but he was not alone in this. Of course, with this big mess, the government just being a hot mess, people were unhappy. They're like, well, this is worse than when the king and parliament were in charge. Now what are we going to do? A lot of them were sent to debtor's prison. They had spent their time fighting in the war, and now they get home and they don't have the money to pay their debts. Their families are not being taken care of after fighting for this country. And everybody in general is just unhappy. And it finally results in Daniel Shays sharpening his weapons and saying, hey guys, let's have another revolution. All right, so by 1786, people in many states faced money problems. And you know, without money, you can't buy your food, you can't buy your clothes. Money problems, big problems. Local governments imposed high taxes on the people. So the state governments, the local governments could tax the people, but none of it made it back to making the big national government better. Many farmers faced losing their farms to debt collectors or being thrown in prison for not being able to pay debts or taxes. People in Massachusetts decided to fight back. Daniel Shays, a former captain in the Continental Army, led a protest known as Shays' Rebellion. Armed citizens marched to their local courts, forced them to close so they could not collect debts. Then Daniel Shays led over 1,000 men to the Federal Weapons Armory in Springfield, Massachusetts. The protesters were defeated by the state militia, and the rebel force fell apart soon after. Despite its eventual defeat, though, Shays' Rebellion put a spotlight on problems brewing in the young United States and underscored the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Though it was a small rebellion, American leaders realized the need for a strong army and a strong national government. So because of this event, the guys go back to the drawing board, so to speak. They meet up and they say, okay, Articles of Confederation, not working. what are we going to do now? What's our next step? We got to do better, because we're going to have other countries start attacking us because we look weak. Our own people within our country are attacking us and protesting and rebelling. And they're seeing another revolution coming if they don't fix it. So you'll have to tune in next week to find out, how did we problem solve? How do we keep trying to create a workable new government? Bye, guys.